Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Commander Plague here with a very, very special someone named not Commander Plague. What am I thinking? Named Brett.
Hello, my name is
Hi.
Brett. Sometimes I wear a beret.
I think they got that. Considering anybody who's watching this video knows who you are, or just knows who I am. I feel special. All right. Alrighty. So, let's go ahead and just dive straight in this because I'm assuming it's going to take a little while considering my last podcast was 50 minutes. Alrighty. So, the first question that I think I started with Phone from Above is why do you nerf? Why did you choose to nerf out of every possible hobby there is in this world? Like, how did you get into it?
Well, why I nerf? It's a very simple answer. It's because it's fun, and I know a lot of people share that opinion, and I think it's a good opinion to share. And at its core, Nerf is just fun. It's silly, it's goofy, it's good fun. I love that it incorporates a bunch of different ages. Obviously, mass marketing targets younger children, and then you break it down a little bit more, and it's parents playing with their kids, and you break it back even further, and we've hit a huge new scene of people who love to tinker and people who like to just have fun, still tagging each other in a grand epic game of tag that has evolved into something completely different. And I got into Nerf because I was younger, so when I first saw blasters on the shelves, and I got my first one, I was in middle school,
Oh,
and
wow.
this was back in the early or mid 2000s, so it was logical at the time for someone of my age, and I just never left since because that was the the initial interest was there, but I kept playing. I kept playing. The blasters kept getting better, and why would I stop when it just kept interesting me? And I understand people when they take a break because they're not interested in something or they move on, but Nerf has never really lost my interest. It's only gotten, like I said, more interesting with the blasters and then more interesting with the people I've met too. So that's why I still Nerf to this day. It's still fun. It's only gotten more fun, and I look forward to the more fun that I will have in the future and the new blasters that will come out.
You commented on this before, like literally 2 seconds ago. But how long have you been nerfing? I know you said since middle school, but was that your very first blaster in middle school?
Pretty much. The first blaster I got was kind of a combination, the Unity system, the Titan, the Scout, and the Hornet. That
I'd be
was one of the big
so
things on the
I'd be
on the
so
wall.
happy if that was my very first blaster. I'd be crying.
Well, yeah, that was me, and that was back in around. I'd have to check my records, but close to 2006, 2007. Now that was a year that magazines were starting to become a little more common because the Recon was coming out. I have to check that again, but the Long Shot I think was the only magazine fed blaster at the time, so it was still kind of newer to that system. Streamlines were prevalent, but I've been in since that time, so let's say 12, 13 years really that I've been into Nerf. But the real big kind of crazier games that you may see on my YouTube channel and that I've really become a huge part in organizing have started closer to 2015, 2016. I did some more nerfing through high school with my close friends. Those games never really got bigger than maybe 10, 12 people, which was totally fine for what we were doing. And then college had some, but it really was that after college and the past 2, 3 years that we had our really serious nerfing ramp up in the area.
Got it. That's interesting. I just I didn't think you'd be nerfing so recent. I guess is the word. Um, I don't know. That's interesting to note considering when you first picked up a blaster, I was 1 or 2 years old. So
Well, and there are plenty of people who have been in this longer than I have too, right?
yeah,
Uh,
like Lord
there are
specifically.
people who got into it probably when I was first being born because there were a lot of 90s blasters, and I didn't really grow up with the 90s blasters, so to speak. As I mentioned, the 2000s were when I first started being aware of things that were on the shelves that I wanted to play with. But, you get the old school folks or folks who are looking at vintage blasters, and a lot of them are in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And I was a 90s kid, so they never really registered with me because I was a little too young to have them on my radar.
Got it. Got it. And now to get on to a weirder question, but why would like how did you theme? Why would you theme your channel to berets or like all this? How did you get obsessed with berets? All this stuff.
What is up with the beret? Well, as I said, been nerfing for some time, and one of the first larger events that I went to was when I was living in California still, and I was playing on the Nobicon field, which is in the North Bay area. I had kind of wanted to find something since I noticed what some people were wearing. It was my kind of first real exposure to some outfits people had on, some of their tack gear. Not too heavy into it, but I was able to pick up on certain styles pretty quickly, and I was able to pick up on what people were wearing. It was an easy way to identify them because that's a great way to, if you don't remember someone's name, at least you can remember what they're wearing. Like, oh, that guy, I saw him before. Or, oh, her, that's right, she always uses this. So I kind of figured out quickly that having a go-to blaster, having a go-to piece of gear, something like that was a good way to not necessarily stand out, but have something that you could easily be recognized by. And that could, if it's kind of hard to remember someone's name, at least that they pick up on that quickly, and you can strike up a conversation as a result of that, or just easily say, oh, I want the person who wears this all the time. And I was looking through some stuff on Amazon as just browsing for blasters because we all do that. This was probably in like 2013, and I purchased two things I thought I might want to bring to games. One of them was a gas mask because I can dress up, and one was a beret because that's a hat.
Like
Looks those
polar opposites of each other. Oh,
and
one signifies death. The other one signifies a good time at the winery.
one of them was more practical for wearing during the summer, and I'll let you figure out which one that was. Actually, if I think about it, neither are ideal for summer
Yeah.
because heat and they don't really provide that much sun protection, but one definitely constrains your breathing and is not good at all for running around in, and can get some questionable looks when you're at a like public school during, even if it's during the summer. So one of them fell back, and the beret for me, it just made sense for a little bit because like, oh, it's my headgear again, the easily recognizable hat. It kind of sounds like my name too, and I really that was the main driving force. I was like, oh, Brett Beret, almost the same letters, just cross one out, add another one. So I chose it and then went with the name of that because it was just so similar to my name, so I didn't need to make up anything super crazy. It was pretty much the same thing, and okay, cool. And I've made that just the distinguishable costume that I can always wear, and when I'm wearing it, it's easy to recognize. And of course, I've taken it now into the even further with different colors, color combinations, what have you. But that's ultimately, it's not too impressive of an origin story on why the hat, but that's kind of just it.
Well, that's interesting to me at least, and I hope it'll be interesting to some of the viewers. Um, but so my next question is, how does it feel to have 15,000 subs? Like, it's a relatively big amount of subscribers.
Yeah, I'll start with the snarky response. It makes me feel superior to anyone with less than 15,000 subscribers, but it also makes me feel inferior to anyone with more than 15,000 subscribers. So obviously, it's the YouTube subscriber count is take it for whatever it is. I've been doing this now for a couple of years, right? Like I mentioned, I've been in Nerf for a while, but the YouTube stuff is pretty new, all things considered, to that timeline.
Mm-hmm.
That was really after our 2016 game started. warming up a bit that I started investing more time and energy to do those things. And well, and like you said, it's that number 15,000 is it's relatively large, but in some cases, like you look at YouTube and it's not that big, but you look at like some Nerf people and it is big.
The biggest
It
person in our hobby is PDK Films, and I wouldn't even consider him in our hobby. No offense,
That would
PDK.
be no, that's a correct assumption, I think.
um, it's just like you hang out with some big names in the nerfing hobby, Wacom and Captain Xavier, and it's astonishing that I haven't seen you get more subs. To be truthfully honest.
Well, it's a number, and some people it's a lot that comes down to how people view places like YouTube nowadays or Twitch, just the streamer mentality and following people. Oh, a certain number tagged on gives you some sort of fame, and in some ways, it's like, oh, okay, it's like what that number represents is that a lot of people are interested in what you do, and I put work into stuff, and so I'm glad that many people have enjoyed enough of what I do to click subscribe, right? But at the same time, I would also be totally fine if that number was slashed and that was just a true representation of people who are legitimately interested in what I do. So yeah, I mean, it's a great feeling. I'm not gonna lie, right? Like it's great to see again that
That
people
number.
find what I'm doing interesting. They come back and they watch my stuff. It's not like you get, you know, 15,000 views on a single video because you have 15,000 subscribers, right? Like it's not a direct correlation in any way. Uh, but it does mean a lot to me that I've been able to build an audience like this over time, and I'm sure everyone can understand that too when they start getting really invested into, say, making videos, and they start seeing more people watch, and they get comments that people enjoy what they're doing, and that's what I really live for the most is when people say that they do enjoy what I'm doing. The view counts are one thing, the subscriber count is another thing, but having actual people like to talk to and play with, right? Because I love playing Nerf. I don't like just reviewing stuff. I like playing. Those are what matter a lot more to me personally. But of course, I do appreciate everyone who has subscribed to my YouTube channel because it has been quite the journey over, specifically 2018, 2019 right
What was
now,
your most? I
um,
think
and 17.
that's when I found you. 2018. That's when I found like Wacom, Captain, all these people in 2018. And my life has like I don't want to get like I mean I'm gonna get sentimental here, but like my life has like gone into your hands. Well, not gone into your hands, but like I give a lot of
Uh-oh.
thanks to what you guys have done
Uh-oh.
because you guys are such amazing people. You're so nice. I'm actually gonna see Captain Xavier at a big event he's coming to here on the East Coast. Um, and it's really just amazing that what you have done with this hobby.
That's great. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now to get less sentimental and go into goofball mode,
Mm-mm.
how did you come up with "I'd run that in war" concept? Like, I don't think anyone on Earth would go around shooting people with a mortar. I'm sorry.
Well, you're not wrong, and if you watched that video too, you probably realized that neither was I tagging people with a mortar. Worst
You
thing
had like
ever.
what, one or two close shots, then you realized, oh wait, there's no missile on the tube. Uh,
There's a funny thing on how that thing works. To your question, so that concept, I thought for a bit of time. This was the beginning of 2018 that I kind of launched that whole series. I didn't really know what was going to happen, if anything was going to happen, but I'd thought for a while about gameplay because there are a lot of people in the hobby who record Nerf gameplay footage, and it is no secret that Nerf gameplay footage is way less searched for, way less attractive to the general audiences, dare I say, even just for people in the Nerf hobby, compared to airsoft, paintball. But I mean, the big one is airsoft, and it's definitely confusing for a lot of folks who enjoy recording it because with Nerf, you can usually see what's being fired, and I've always enjoyed that. Like, you can actually watch the darts fly, you can watch the balls fly, you can see the massive rocket get launched,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that. Whereas for airsoft, you don't see what's actually being shot. So,
1 millimeter pellet. It's not
but
exciting.
it's just a different mindset, I guess, what people want to see, and the stigma of airsoft versus Nerf. We don't have to get into that. The point being, not many people watch Nerf gameplay, and again, it's no secret about that. But I started my channel pretty much with that gameplay love in mind, and my earliest stuff is of very low quality, but it is me playing games. It's from high school times with friends on a bunch of different locations into college with the places that we tried to play, and then all the way through until now. And I thought, well, okay, I wanna still share gameplay footage with people. I got like, a newer GoPro because I started with some low quality video glasses and I moved up to a GoPro Hero 2 and I liked that, but it still had its limitations. And then I finally picked up a GoPro Hero 5 Session, a nice little cube in the what was it, March of 2017, I think. One of those times. And
Same here.
I mean, I really liked it. I liked the quality of footage it gave me, especially compared to previous models.
Mm,
And I was just thinking, okay, well, I enjoy my gameplay, but I also understand that not everyone wants to sit around and watch 18 minutes of me sometimes tagging people. So compilations, they make sense. And I've always tried to edit some of my footage to just show highlights because that's what I want to see too, to be completely honest, unless there's actual interesting conversations being held too. And I think that's what I also found that I enjoyed when you're actually engaged in the footage, right? Like you hear people talking, you kind of could see yourself playing there too. If there's downtime that like kind of creates atmosphere, that's one thing. But it's also, of course, fun to watch the darts being shot, to watch someone else get tagged, watch yourself get tagged, and then to hear funny commentary. Because once again, Nerf gameplay should be humorous and silly, and sometimes, I just used silly things because I had a lot of blasters. And I took that and was like, well, you know what? My channel now has like over 1,000 subscribers at the time, and I, I don't know how many people legitimately like watched gameplay footage versus some of these other reviews I've done. I wonder what would happen if I gave them the option, like, what do you guys want to see me run? Maybe that's a way to get people invested in gameplay footage.
and
Like,
poof, it
give
was
them
me.
a voice, give them options, and then just take what people want to see the most and play with it. And so that's what I did. I kind of, I mean, I crafted myself, right? Like I craft some of the categories and I don't give you a blank slate to choose literally anything. But I
Ah,
think like,
almost.
okay, yeah, because that can go many, many different ways that we don't need to see what the extremes would be. Use a real gun. Thanks.
Yeah, let's not go there.
I get that suggestion enough.
We're not Florida man.
And and so I just kind of rolled with that, and I think people really latched onto the idea. And some of those initial videos got uh, some pretty good feedback, and being yeah, exactly what I was hoping. People were the people who participated in the survey were more invested in the footage, and the other thing was that most of my footage too, I try to make it interesting so that if I'm playing you care about seeing me like say something or do something because I'm trying to make it obvious that's what I'm doing. Because I'm not going for in these videos tactical stuff, right?
No.
I'm going for like silly, loud stuff where you can hear exactly what I'm thinking because I'm saying it or I'm thinking out loud. And I was hoping that that would be easy enough for people to follow. And when you clip down the most interesting parts, I think that's exactly what I got. And I've just done, new kinds of questions every month or so, right? I think that's
Yeah,
about the schedule I've
that sounds
kept.
right.
So, if thousands of people want to watch that, that's great. But for the hundreds of people who take the time to fill out the survey, that's what the series is ultimately for. The people who go in, they vote, and they get excited to maybe see what I'm going to use. And even if their choice blasters don't get used, the goal is to at least give you an enjoyable time using something next part that you may not normally use and show that that can still be a lot of fun because obviously the way that things have scaled you may not want to be looking at some of these dumb blasters if you are looking at your next Strife mod. No hate towards the Strife,
Yeah.
but we can always make it. We can always keep it grounded with the silliness. That's
Oh.
kind of ironic statement, but
Huh.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate inspiration behind it.
And I think your channel has like, no offense, I don't know if this is offensive, but your channel embraces the silliness of Nerf. Like
Nope, that's not offensive.
when I watch your channel, I think, oh, I'm just here to have a good time. Like that, whenever I just feel like that's when I watch your channel. When I'm like, okay, I had a pretty day, and you know what, I could really go for somebody launching a rocket out of a mortar. Um, but and yeah. So how? Just a quick little add on to that question. How many people on average do you get fill out the survey? Do you think?
On average, it's such a weird one because when I first launched it in 2018, I would often make a separate video to announce that a new survey was out, and usually, if that was like a minute video just to say, hey, here it is, it wouldn't get as many views. And I'm not here to complain about view count. I'm just saying if you get less views on a video that announces a survey, that means less people are going to go to the link and click on it, right?
Yeah.
So I found that the easiest thing to do was to tack it on to an actual video because those got higher responses. And I know people were looking for them and they wouldn't always find them, and window of time to fill it out, blah, blah, blah. On average, it has very much varied, but like the first one I got, over like 400 responses, which was like, oh, that's awesome. To the highest one I ever got was probably just under 1100.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
that was very much an outlier, and even like now, like my most previous one has like 600 or so responses. On average, it's like around 700, which is, I think, a completely fair number. And yeah, I have to remember the scale of that. That means that people not only just like clicked on a video, they went to the video, clicked on a link, filled out questions, like just simple boxes, but they still went through those, clicked on them, and then submitted them. And that really does mean a lot when people take those extra steps because they're clearly, invested and they want to see something that maybe they don't get to see elsewhere. So that's usually about the number of people who fill it out. And like I said, it varies because some of those videos, the way that YouTube works, how does YouTube work? Sometimes, those videos get a lot more views than other times. Sometimes they'll do 3 times as well as others, and I have, in my opinion, no control over that. I just post it. But like the most recent one's probably at like 3,000 views, I'm not sure, and the response is lower than something that got 10,000 views. I think that just makes sense, right?
Yeah. All right. So on to my next question because I think we've spent way too much time on this question. Not that time's relevant or anything. But what do you think of the new flagship blasters, specifically by Nerf, that were introduced at the New York Toy Fair? Like, what are your thoughts and opinions on
They're cool with an asterisk,
it?
and the asterisk is, I obviously pride myself in using many different kinds of blasters because everything deserves some love, and you can always use a dumb blaster and have a lot of fun with it, right? No one's saying that is not the case, but these new ones are also not really. I don't think any of them are actually advertising that they're like, oh, they're just goofy. Like they're all trying to be serious business. And I'm assuming you're referring to the 4 major ones, like
Yeah, like the
from
Percy's, the Megalodon, those ones. Yeah.
the Titan and
Yeah.
the
Revoltonator.
Revoltonator, or the big 4. Yeah, so I mean, I've seen the Revoltonator is out and about now, along with the Megalodon. I've used a Megalodon. I think I used one last weekend just to try it out, and it's fine. I mean, it definitely seems like it could be pretty practical with the capacity it has and the size of it. So,
And the new shotgun cylinders that
so
were, and the new shotgun cylinders that, not cylinders, but drum that just
someone
came out.
printed for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also pretty cool. And yeah, so the package it gives you with the capacity is not bad. So I could definitely see myself using that for actual effectiveness, like in our games. The Revoltinator is I mean, I have no need for a Strife at this time. I'm not gonna say it's not cool though. Like
Yeah,
I
that
could
one
totally,
flips.
I could totally rock one of those as well. But you got to be committed to buy a $50 lights and sound Strife when you have so many other options and customizing options. Especially if you're just looking for performance. It's obviously not something you're going to get for performance. You're going to get it for the style. Just like I love the Cam ECS, but I love the shell on that one at least. And so this one doesn't really hold as much of a candle to it if I had to compare. But it's not complete garbage at the same time. But 50
Well,
bucks is a commitment in your price spending,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. We had a whole
The
discussion about money on Phone from Above's interview. It's ridiculous.
money's serious, and that's a
Yeah,
fair point to be brought up with these new blasters too. They are quite expensive, which
the
Alpha Strike
Megalodon's
is the
what
answer to that.
the Megalodon's
Megalodon's
like
the
40
cheapest.
bucks, which
Yeah,
is a lot of money. I'm sorry.
and it's the cheapest of those four blasters.
Yeah, I'm as much as I love the idea of the Titan, and I think the drum alone is worth at least 25. Um, Considering it's been tinkered with and tinkered with and tinkered with ever since the Stampede. And Nerf hasn't been able to get it down. But I don't know. It's a lot of money for a spinning barrel. You see what I'm
It
saying?
is. But it's exactly what they want to do for a drum because they know you'll buy it for a drum. For some people, will have to because they're not selling the drum separately. And I don't
Except for
think the
Xavier.
Titan. Well, a lot of people, if they really want a legitimate 50 round Nerf drum,
Could you
I
imagine
could
that?
see it being okay. But I'm not attached to the Titan, especially at a $100 price tag. I mean, the size of it is hilarious. The shape of it is hilarious. The 50 round drum is great. That's cool. It looks chunky. So if you're really invested for that price, sure. But also $100, the uh, Percy's does actually seem pretty sweet. But I also have no real need for it right now. But I could see myself buying one if I really was looking for a Prometheus in a smaller package.
As someone who has a Prometheus and a Nemesis, um, humble brag there for a second. But I don't think I need another one. Like I don't think I need a combination of both of them because I think that's what it is. It's a Nemesis with Prometheus internal. It's like the same size of a Nemesis, sort of.
It's a bit smaller
Yeah,
actually.
but like I don't know. It doesn't really appeal to me all that much. Maybe that's
Yeah,
just me.
if you have the blasters already, I think that's a very appropriate decision. Then
But Christmas. Who knows?
you
Um,
know,
um. All right. So on to the next. What is your favorite blaster line? Because I've actually been wondering this about you for a while.
hmm, there's so many, and if you're just referring to Nerf, the
Yeah, Nerf a lot.
Zombie Strike is obviously pretty. I love that Zombie Strike exists because the blasters we've gotten from it, while they're not all practical, nor are they always functional, they are pretty unique. And if you're going to give us some unique options, then I'm all for that because the Revoltinator is nothing too special, but it does have a bit of a special feature. I love the Sledge Fire, that's awesome. The Hammer Shot is great as well. Like, those style blasters are pretty darn unique, and those were the two initial blasters from the line. And what else we gotten from Zombie Strike?
The
Sling,
Doominator. Well, that
Prime
wasn't.
Action. Oh, the Doominator. Well, no, I may have to take it all back. I hate the Doominator. There's some pretty cool stuff from Zombie Strike, so I like that they got pretty creative, clearly, with that line. And it's not about the tactics there; it's just about some, junky,
It's about being
some
goofy.
creative art.
It's about art that was supposed to play with the kid. It's about imagination. That's the main point of the Zombie Strike line, in my opinion.
hmm Also a fan of just like the Whiteout series. It's kind of a
Oh,
line, but not entirely, uh,
I think I had a
because
whiteout as a kid.
Whiteout is cool. And if I had to draw cross over to Busby, I do love their Ultratech line because that gave us the Sentinel and the Snipe and the Brute.
Yeah,
So slight competitors, but I've always loved the Sentinel. That's why I bring that up.
Yeah, Sentinel's one of the best stock blasters in the entire hobby. I'm sorry, I said it. Okay, all right, I said it. But our next question is, what is your favorite like stock blaster? And I may have just, I don't know if I
You
said
may have alluded to it right there. That is definitely a candidate for it. The Sentinel has some great stock firepower, great reliability. It's obviously not the nicest on your hands if you're really putting your arm into it, but it's I don't know, that's just part of the experience, right?
yeah.
I've also loved in my earlier days, the Power Strike 48 was kind of ahead of its time in just the amount of darts it held, and the performance was actually quite awesome
That was
when
the
we're running
one.
around with Mavericks.
That was the one with Wallcom, like the shotgun flywheeler. Wasn't that one? Like,
Shotgun fire, yeah, I think that's an appropriate way to describe it. It has
yeah.
a it's pump action, and it has 12 cylinder. It has 12 tubes arranged in a cylinder that hold 4 darts each.
Okay, yeah.
It's
Okay.
big and red,
I
and the one
just.
that Wallcom had in his video was my friend Kyle's, and the two of us had ours when we were in high school. So that's technically its brother, if you call it that. Mine's still unmodded because I loved the performance it had when it was in that stock form.
The
And
gold
I don't know
bars.
how it compares exactly to other blasters nowadays because I haven't used it in a while, but that may change.
And now on to the next question. Use French there. Yes, so fancy. Alrighty. What's your favorite 3D printed blaster that you own? Specifically, that you own.
Hmm. Well, of the blasters I own, I have an FDL3, I have a Foxfire Talon, I have a Caliburn, I have a Rivalburn, I have a Jupiter, and I have a Wasteland Ranger. I think those are the
You have a
3D
Jupiter?
printed blasters that I own. I do have a Jupiter. There's a reason you've never seen a video about it. Just because I have it doesn't mean it's fully assembled and functioning, because I've
Ah.
put that on the back burner for a long time.
Spoiler alert, maybe, possibly, for this
I
interview.
need to get to that one day. So unfortunately, I can't throw the Jupiter into the races the same way, but one day perhaps. The I mean, of the list, the thing that's brought the most, that I've used the most, I think, and has been quite, impressive to me, is it's probably a pretty cop outy choice, but the FDL3 is awesome.
I
Like,
mean, yeah, like,
I paid some good money for that one. I got it with the first release of it back
oh,
October last year.
that was the first video I ever watched of you.
Oh no, my beret was on the wrong way. And I mean, it's got some crazy firepower, and even this last month, when oh no, we're in August. Even in June, when we were at Foam Pro Tour at End War, I had that blaster ready to go for competitive, and I didn't end up using it. Two of my teammates used it, but the fact that they were able to jump in and know exactly how to operate it was great. I love that it's got so much versatility because I can dial it down super, super low, and I can also dial it up for one of those games when I need to. So it's probably going to be my primary for
Oh
Ragnar
wow.
Oktoberfest come uh, October again. That's where I used it first last year. It's a pretty impressive build. I really like that I can reach out to the creators of it and get some, pretty quick feedback. And they came out with like updated parts right after they shipped me mine, and I got those updated parts when I went to Ragnar Oktoberfest last year. When Jesse showed up and gave them to me, he's like, "Oh, perfect, thank you."
Oh
But I
wow.
haven't had any serious problems with it since. So I mean, served me very well. Gives me some good options, and there's nothing quite like having that kind of firepower with, when you really want to dump a magazine. It's
Um,
pretty hilarious.
so I have a friend in my dart club who has an FDL3. It's actually themed to the Irish. And it's so scary fighting against an FDL3, because that thing can throw like launch darts. It's literally called the foam dart launcher for a reason. Um,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, and I was contemplating getting Dart Zone Pro or FDL3, and then I just thought about it for like 2 seconds. I was like, FDL3, what are you, an idiot? Um,
No,
Not
they are very different.
yeah,
You know,
like
definitely a consideration.
yes. Now on to the next question, which is very similar to the last one. What 3D printed blaster do you want the most that you do not have?
The ones that register in my mind that could be interesting, or that I don't have at the very least. The Viper is pretty big still.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
forgot about that.
MHP has, a couple that Heath Pants has, but like the Turkey, I remember that being pretty cool. Spring Thunder, Woozy, and the Esper of that list. I think the Viper does appeal to me. I know there have been some issues that some folks had in the initial prints. So if I were to want one of those, I might wait a little bit longer just to see some of those issues dialed in a little bit. I also have enough stuff to keep me occupied, so I'm in no rush. um, and the Spring Thunder has always been kind of a maybe one day we'll see about it because not having a 3D printer means that I can't service blasters very easily, and
Yeah,
Spring Thunder has a lot of working components inside of it, and you need the shells obviously to function.
yeah.
But I like the idea of a shell blaster, and it could be a pretty fun one to use, especially with multiple types of ammo. And I guess it's not on this list too, but it's similar to a Caliburn, a Talon Claw. But I think that one's actually on the list very soon.
Um, yeah. My pick would have been Spring Thunder. I've seen people play with it like at my
Hmm.
events, and it's crazy. I love it. The only problem is picking up shells after that.
Yeah, that's why I'm always careful about where I'm using my Sledge Fire if I am actually using it, because I do not want to lose those shells. The Spring Thunder, at least you can print them,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
there's just a cost associated, but the Sledge Fire has an added cost of
Buying a whole new Sledge
scarcity,
Fire.
and you can't always trust that you will be able to find more.
Exactly. Um. So this is just a random question that I came up with because I was super tired. Speaking of tired, it is almost 10 o'clock where I live. Are you excited for the Icon series? I know it's kind of a weird question. It's already come out in some places, but
Yep, they're at my target right now.
oh well, it's not at mine because my target sucks. Um,
Well,
but like I know I think I know what you're gonna say, like what everyone's saying, but
given that comment.
but which one are you most excited for, and what do you want from the Icon series?
That's the more appropriate question. Like, what do we actually want? What do people actually want from
Everyone
that
wants to get a
series?
1995 crossbow, like, but it's not gonna
A
happen.
crossbow would be cool. I don't think they would have the molds to that,
Or
and
the
I'd
darts, like that's another
I'd be
big thing.
curious to know about the brand of it. If they'd be allowed to make one of those. That's a question that would definitely need to be addressed.
2006.
So the ones that exist, right? The Stampede,
The Mag
the
Strike.
Element, and the Mag Strike, which I've owned all three. I think I still do have a Stampede, and I may have sold off my Mag Strikes at this time in my life. Mag Strike, the newer version, the one that came out in Elite. Yep, Elite Yellow was never a thing, but the one that came out in Yellow that was not Dartag, I do remember that being pretty good until it broke. And I'm sure this one is fun still, but I mean, Mag Strike is Mag Strike. It's not groundbreaking,
Yeah,
and I think it's what, $40.
it's 40
That's,
bucks, which I would have put it at like
that's
at
a
least
lot.
35. Like I mean at most 35.
With one clip, okay, thank you, Nerf. And the Stampede just seems like, no offense, but even more highway robbery. There's nothing that's really updated with it.
I
It's
mean,
like missing an internal barrel. It gives you less magazines. It doesn't give you a bipod. It's like I got a Stampede when it first came out. I
I did
remember
too actually.
I remember very clearly when I first got that Stampede at Toys R Us, rest in peace. And it was like the day before they were supposed to be released, and I thought that was all special because, oh my gosh, they're not supposed to be out yet. But I had a Stampede, and it was fun, and it still is a fun blaster to use, but there's nothing new with this. And
Was
if
the
that's what
original
Icon
Stampede
means,
direct plunger?
mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I always thought it was reverse for some really odd reason. Um,
It's a
so
unique one that way. And it's not,
yeah,
it's not a bad blaster. But
it's
if
not
you're just going to get a re-release of the exact same thing
with less parts
with less
and more
parts
money.
and adjusted for inflation, okay, thank you so much. I'll take your Icon Maverick because who cares? It's a Maverick. Yeah, it's not going to be powerful.
But
But
you
give
love
me
the
a
Maverick.
bright gold like Icon Shiny. I'd pay for that
Oh my god,
because
that
that's
would be
actually a
amazing.
like that's kind of a cool, unique, recognizable blaster. That's
That
one of the most
is
iconic,
that
literally
is
iconic blasters of all time.
yes, that is literally one of the most. I think it's still the most sold blaster in all of Nerf. Uh,
Wouldn't be surprised. So I don't know what icon really means then,
yeah,
because
because
it
if you're gonna put
it
the
sounds like it
element,
means iconic,
if you're gonna put
but I
the
don't think
element
that.
in the icon series, I'm sorry, you don't know what icon is, Nerf.
I
No
think
offense, no offense.
icon. I think icon means we still have the molds
Molds.
for these, and we
That's
have
what I
enough
meant.
of them. Okay, so I don't know.
um,
Weird.
so on to the last question of this interview. I am sorry, fans. I know you want to hear more Brett's voice. Um, um, so last but certainly not least, if you had to pick someone to be your like your Nerf idol, someone you look up to in the Nerf hobby, it can be a YouTuber or like a blogger or even somebody who just like you just know. Who would be your Nerfing idol?
Well, I definitely when I first got in, I'll keep it more nerfing related. The first the first stuff I started watching was heavy on the gameplay because I liked watching other people play in different parts of the world because that was cool. That's what got me excited. I want to go and play. Maybe let's play this game, or oh, I like that blaster. Maybe if I see one of those one day, I can pick one up, or I can maybe show someone else what we're doing, and they'd be inspired to do that in their games. And one of the first ones I found was a man by the name of Basic Nerf. I believe he's in Southern California. He doesn't make Nerf videos anymore, but he was one of the most frequent gameplay posters out there, and you can still find his videos. And some of the things I remember, like they had a mall that they rented out
Oh
and
my
got to
god.
play. And we've seen some of that recently too, with like Foam Dart Thunder over in the UK
Jared's Epic Nerf
playing
Battle.
Jared's Epic Nerf Battle, renting out an entire arena. We've seen large scale things pop up more now. Not that it's easy, obviously, but it's
No, it's not.
it's been more frequent. This was one of the first things I saw of that magnitude that was like, whoa, they actually were able to do this. That's awesome. And I mean, he liked his gameplay. He liked to use certain blasters. It was fun to watch. I was invested, and it was exactly what someone like me who enjoyed playing Nerf and was, if anything, recording videos with a small uh, camera on his head or really cheap sunglasses, was like, trying to make similar style gameplay footage that I could share with my friends, except this guy was sharing it like for a bunch of other people on YouTube. It was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. And it was really interesting to always watch where he was playing and what he was using. It wasn't crazy high powered modded stuff compared to what we have now. And, that would obviously be a sign of the times, but it was like you could tell he was really enjoying himself. And then uh, the next person I found that was in that similar nature was Jangular, and
Oh.
the difference there was that I finally got to meet the guy in person and play in one of the Bay Area games back. I think that was maybe late high school or early college. It's hard to remember entirely. Uh, but I mean, so in a sense, it was like Basic Nerve, and then also Jangular was kind of a big inspiration for more of the gameplay stuff because he was actively recording gameplay footage and sharing it, and that was what got me interested in not only recording more but playing more and playing with more adults because I found more people who were like-minded and just enjoyed playing, and it was really cool to jump into that. And seeing him use different things all the time as well was inspiring in the same way, right? Uh, and they had a cool field, right? They had a cool
Yeah.
field they were playing at.
Yeah.
What could be better?
exactly. Um, yeah. So that's this life story of Brett, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate it. Is there anything you'd
Yeah.
like to say before I, leave this call?
Before we leave, not too much. I've just business as usual. Summer is going well. I've got trying to plan some end of summer events right now, so there should be more opportunities to film things and play things. And for people wondering, like, hey, Brett, when's your next video on those survey blasters? It's coming, but I haven't had the big game for it yet. So Nerf is still good. A lot of stuff happening in the area, of course. So I'll be sure to share with you guys as it happens.
Alrighty. Thank you
And
so
thank
much.
you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. See you guys later. Alrighty. Bye.